Welcome back to some more League of Augsburg wargaming action. Two mid-17th century Scandinavian warships have always inspired and fascinated me. The Danish Sophia Amalia of 108 guns was built in imitation of the English sovereign of the seas. Monarchs of the time had ship envy, therefore King Christian's ship had to have 8 guns more than the English vessel. Despite her epic lines and formidable armament, she rarely went into battle and is absent from most of the many notable engagements between Denmark and Sweden. The mighty Stora Kronan, or Great Crown, was the Yamato of her time. 124 guns, a reasonable sailor, but ignominiously lost when she capsized in a gust of wind during the Battle of Åland. Her forward magazine exploded, and she was quickly lost with over 800 crew during the Swedish Navy's greatest disaster. Two giants which never met in combat and failed to cover themselves in glory. I decided to give them a chance to go head to head in a mad for war scenario. Setting the fictitious encounter in the period of the Skåne War and off the island of Rügen, two large Danish ships commanded by the famous Niels Juel encountered 3 Swedish ships commanded by Lawrence Kreutz. This is an equal match. Each fleet has just under 1,000 points. The Swedes have 3 ships: Fenix, a 36-gun armed merchant; Draken, a 70-gun ship of the line; and Kreutz's flag is in the Kronan of 124 guns. I played the Swedes. Collins' 2 Danish ships are the 80-gun Christianus V and the 108-gun flagship Sophia Amalia. The light wind is blowing from north-northeast, visibility is good, and the sea is relatively calm. The objective is to cause the enemy to break off. We played this game in under 2 hours using Microsoft Teams. Colin gives his orders, I move both sets of ships. We do this almost every week, and the lads say it's actually better using the camera view. The challenges associated with judging distance and angles make it more interesting than the usual helicopter view of being at the table. One of the few side benefits of COVID and social distancing. Juel was rated superior for initiative, but the Swedes begin to windward, so for the first half dozen or so turns, the initiative roll-off had no modifiers either way. Even on a 4x4 table, the narrow passage between 2 sandbars proved a magnet which seemed to draw both fleets towards it. I've no idea why this happens. It's a train wreck in slow-mo. Probability says that something is going to run aground, and in this battle, the traffic jam around the channel proved decisive. The Swedes used a large number of armed merchant ships in their fleet, much like the English and Dutch during the First and Second Anglo-Dutch Wars. Fenix was to windward of every other vessel and quickly broke away to come around upon the Danes from the east. The larger battleships made much slower progress. We really enjoy the manoeuvring, almost as much as the fighting, so these early turns passed quickly as both sides attempted to gain a positional advantage. The first shooting came from Juel's flagship, which opened up at engagement range, hitting Kronan twice. Although she would normally throw 11 shooting dice, the range halved Sophia Amalia's capability, and her heavy guns, which provide rethrows of half of all misses, were disappointing in this opening salvo. There was a lull in the firing then. Sailing on the broad reach, Fenix had swooped in from the east along the northern edge of the sandbar, but could not avoid colliding with the much larger Christianus V. She escaped relatively lightly from this crash, but found herself passing in the lee of the Danish flagship's starboard side at musket range. The next shooting was also to come from the flagship and proved far more decisive. The unlucky merchantman was subjected to a full broadside and took 6 hits, which caused a catastrophic damage check. She caught fire and slowed down. Her crew were dazed and unable to get the fire under control. She burned for a while before her master struck his colours. A shallop was lowered from the flagship to accept her surrender, and by that time, the fire was out. She dropped anchor, being in too bad a state to continue sailing. Burst blood to the Danes, and I was under pressure. For some reason neither of us could work out, our lead ships were racing to navigate a narrow channel between 2 sandbanks. The larger Christianus V reached it first and promptly ran aground. Draken glided in from the east, crossing the Danes' bow at less than 20 yards. She failed her skill check to back sail, missing a golden chance to rake and perhaps wreck the enemy ship. She cleared the channel only to run aground on the south side. The Danish captain got his ship off the sandbank with some considerable damage to the hull and tried to board Draken from the stern. This failed, so a huge, raking, murder-range broadside was pumped into the stranded Swede. This caused catastrophic damage, burning up loose ammunition and leaving her helpless. The Danish ship grappled her on the next turn and quickly captured Draken. My god, I was 2 down and forced to check my flagship's morale. Luckily, I passed, but only due to the +2 for Admiral Kreutz being aboard. I resigned myself to losing the battle, but fought on. Both the flagships were now converging in the congested channel space. Sophia Amalia's heavy guns were taking time to reload, and Kronan finally got a chance to engage. At a range of about 200 yards, she threw 12 D10s looking for hits on 5 because of her master gunner. Although Yule's ship did not degrade beyond 6-penny damage, the all-important 9 hits caused a catastrophic damage check. Sophia Amalia was holed below the waterline and began listing heavily to larboard. Her movement and shooting capability were greatly reduced, and her starboard guns were unusable due to the angle of tilt. Kronan sailed on and moved across her bow. It was obvious to the Danish admiral that Kreutz was putting his ship in a position to bow rake. Then, Kronan ran aground. Unbelievable. Before the Swedes could remove the flagship, Yule ordered his damaged ship to grapple and board her. This was achieved, and in a fierce contest which initially was evenly matched, a dramatic reverse meant that Admiral Yule was forced to strike his colours and surrender to Kreutz aboard the Kronan. At this point, the captured Draken was being sailed away, the hulk of Fenix lay off to the north, and the damaged Christianus V was to leeward and sorely out of position. Although the battle was a draw from an attrition perspective, we both agreed that bragging rights would go to Kreutz for capturing the magnificent enemy flagship and the national hero Niels Yule. Sweden had honour restored, and at least on the tabletop, Stora Kronan behaved like a flagship. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to the League of Augsburg channel. There's plenty more on the way.